What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Just Gonna Say It podcast. We record these live on the YouTubes every Tuesday at 4 o'clock Eastern time, and then we upload them usually a week later. So last week's episode just went up on the podcasts, all of them, Spotify and Apple and all those. So I hope you get to check out those if you don't like watching videos. But I know you're all here already. I see we've got a bunch of people. Thanks for hanging out on this Tuesday afternoon. And yeah, cool, man. We've got some interesting stuff to talk about today. I'm going to do, this is kind of fun. I went through the, you're looking at year end stuff, right? You're looking at, we're getting to the end of the year. We got a couple of weeks left. Speaking of that, I wanted to mention to you in the link in the description of this video right now. And it'll be on the podcast. Also in the show notes of the podcast, there is a survey, and you click on that survey. And what it is the end of the year, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to put together kind of a best of 2022 gear awards thing. You know, it's whatever. It's not the Grammys or anything. Don't worry about it. But it's just kind of fun. What we're going to do is I took a bunch of gear from the gear newses that we've been doing all year and put them on a survey. And we've got the best kind of extra gear like strings, plugins, tuners, stuff like that. And so that's extra gear. So the best of extra gear. We've got the best pedal of the year, and we've got the guitar of the year and the amp of the year. And so there's a bunch of choices there. I kind of picked all the main stuff. Nothing that was like super special edition where, you couldn't get, I forgot to turn my lights on, where you couldn't get, them after 20 of them or something. Hang on one second. I forgot to turn my lights on. So this is one of those on the fly kind of situations where we forget to do things and then we fix it. There we go. Cool. Yeah. So now you can see me properly, and I can see that you can hear me properly. Excellent. So, let's see. There's a question in there. Oh, first of all, too, you can ask questions here, and we're going to get into some stuff in a minute. And I'm going to get to that. I'll get to your question in just a second. You can also use a super chat. I'll drop what I'm doing, and we'll answer that super chat as well if you have a question. What we're going to talk about today is the biggest, kind of the most common questions that we get in the comments on YouTube videos. It's kind of funny because after, over 1,000 videos or whatever, we get all these a lot. If you're new to the channel, I can understand you having these because it's, like Leslie gets on me all the time for like, you don't tell people what you do enough, that you actually make pickups. And, so we're going to talk about some of that stuff, some of the other questions surrounding what we do here, and some other stuff. And if you have questions, get in the comments and ask them. I see we got one down here right now. Let's see. Al Adolphson says, Mogami cables have a red plug that doesn't make noise while plugging in and out. Does Runway have the same feature? I don't know. That is actually not a Mogami thing. I believe that is a Neutrik thing. So the Neutrik end on the Mogami cable is what makes that possible. And I don't know actually if Runway has that feature available, a silent cable. I don't know if you use them a lot. They're not all they're cracked up to be. And I know that people make a huge deal out of this, but it's not that big a deal. Just pop that sucker out. But yes, if you want them, you might want to ask Austin at Runway, because I'm not sure. I actually hung out with him this weekend. We were in Nashville, and I hung out with Austin this weekend. Let's see if there's any other questions that just popped in here, and then we're going to get into these questions that have come in all year over and over and over again. So, and hello, everybody that's in the comments. I'm seeing all you say hello. So I'm just going to give you kind of a collective one. I see everybody there. All right. Number one question. And these are not in any order. I just kind of, as I found that they were common, I wrote them down. Number one, do you make X pickup? So let's do this backwards. I'm just going to tell you what I make. So what happens is a lot of people will be like, well, do you make this wacky pickup from, do you make gold foils or Teisco pickups or, whatever. So let's start bass first because bass is fewer pickups. So we make a 51P bass pickup, which is, actually I've got one right here. For those of you who are watching on video, this is the one that looks like a single coil, but it is actually a bass pickup. So we make one of those. We make a jazz bass pickup. We make a P bass, the staggered humbucker deal. And that's pretty much it for the bass stuff. We make regular P90s, dog ear P90s, which are the same thing, except a different bass plate and mounting system, for those of you that didn't know that. A humbucker size P90. And then in the Telecaster stuff, we make our flat six tele pickups, and we make like a Telecaster drop-in P90-ish sort of thing. It looks like a Telecaster pickup. It is constructed like a P90, and it gets you somewhere in between. We also make those for Strats. We make a few sets of Strat pickups. We make a bunch of humbuckers. We don't make blade pickups per se. We do have one model, but we do not make any humbucking single coils at all, ever. We don't make Filtertrons. Yeah. So there you go. Strat, Tele, humbucker, P90s, some bass stuff. Yeah. Pretty cool. Jazz Master, Jaguar. That's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much it. Hey, Dylan, have you ever messed around with a 0 fret nut? Supposedly, it sets the action super low and sweet. Plus, your teachings about the dexterity of the nut. 0 nut seems to be a no-brainer. I've used it a few times. It's, it's 6 on one, half dozen the other. There is no... I'm kind of with Matt at Texas Toast on this. There is no advantage to doing it. It adds another piece, and I'm down to simple, so I would rather not have an extra piece. It does not add to lower action. That is a myth. We could totally get into that in a video if you want, but it does not aid in lower action. What else? I don't know. I think it's cool, but it's like, if you want one, get one. If you don't want one, don't get one. I personally wouldn't go out of the way to convert a guitar from no 0 fret to 0 fret, like with a Z Glide or whatever they call those. They're cool. They work. We've done it before. We've done it in videos before, actually. Zero Glide, that's what they're called. But I don't think it's worth wasting the time. I think it's a Gretsch thing that people thought was cool, and all of a sudden, oh, that's cool, so it must be better. That's not always the case. Let's see. Here's another one. And some of these are kind of funny. I thought you liked X or Y guitar, so why are you selling it, or why are you in the process of selling it? Why do you have your carbon fiber acoustic for sale? I thought you loved that guitar. And then associated with that is the people in the, I knew it. I knew he was going to go back to a wooden guitar. No. I want all the things. I want to try as many things as possible, which is so fun. That's what makes all this fun to me. I am the atypical guitar player. I feel like, and this is a bit of a generalization, but I feel it's pretty accurate, is that most guitar players will get into I'm a Les Paul guy, I'm a Strat guy, I'm a Marshall guy, I'm a whatever. And especially the fanboy people, like if you either love PRS or you hate PRS or you whatever, and they just go down these rabbit holes on these particular brands. And it happens with everything. It happens with all kinds of stuff. trucks and cars and, you know, whatever brand of anything you're into. I've never been that person with anything. I'll drive a Ford, I'll drive a Chevy, I'll drive a Toyota. I don't care. I don't care. Trying to think if there's any vehicles I won't drive based on association of brand. Yeah, I don't do that. I don't think I do that with anything. I don't do it with knives. I don't do it with anything. So I want to experience as much of this stuff as possible. But because we have limited space, it's not reasonable for me to keep every guitar I've ever bought or every pedal I've ever bought or, whatever. So if you go to DylanTalksTone.com, there's a thing that says Dylan's Deals, and that shows some of the stuff that we currently have on sale. And there's usually, we just started doing it that way, but there's usually, I think there's 3 or 4 guitars up there now. So, it's kind of fun. Just stuff that we aren't going to keep around. And plus, it's more fun for the channel to buy new stuff and have new stuff around. If you get tired of seeing the same guitar, you're not going to get tired of seeing the same guitar around here, because we're going to swap them out a bunch, which I think is fun. And most of this stuff, you could just go get another one. You know what I mean? It's, if you sell this guitar, just go get another one. I'm not one of these people who's like, this is the best version of this guitar, and I'll never find one of these that's this good again, because most guitars can be made to be good. Even cheap guitars can be made to be good. If you pay attention to the setup and do all the right stuff and put pickups in it and do all those things, we can do that with all kinds of stuff. So I'm a whatever I feel like at the moment. Pepsi versus Coca-Cola. I'm a Coke person. We live in Georgia. Obviously, I don't actually drink soda, but if I do, I would drink Coke over Pepsi. But if I was in a random place somewhere and they didn't have Coke, I wouldn't say no to a Pepsi. Even though I would not like it as much. History question. P90 pickup. Which was first, the soap bar or the dog ear? Oh, I'm going to say it's the dog ear, because they were, so the earliest dog ear earliest P90 pickup that I can think of right now is like a 48 Gibson, like an L5 or an ES125. I had a 50, personally, I owned a 53 ES125, and it was screw poles, because the early ones were actually slug poles. They were not screw poles. They were not adjustable, but they had to make them adjustable because, so this answers the question, because they were dog ears. So you got to remember that back in those days, most of those guitars were like acoustic to electric conversions. So like an ES125 was basically like a Gibson L5 or L, whatever those were. I don't remember. But anyway, and they would just stick a P90 up underneath the strings and bolt it to the top of the guitar. So so that would be dog ear first. And they were slugs at first. But then they figured, well, we can't adjust the pickup height because it's a dog ear. We need to put screw poles in it to adjust the screw poles up and down. If that were if it needed to be adjusted for some reason. So then skip ahead to 52, I suppose. 52, 53, when they're like prototyping and the first Les Paul came out. I'm pretty sure that then now you have soap bars, right? And then in 57, I guess, would be 56 or 57, in that crossover where Les Pauls get humbuckers, then they said, well, we need to put screw adjustable poles on the humbuckers, even though you don't need them, because customers are going to think you need them because you needed them on the P90. So there's your little kind of history lesson in that stuff. Let's see. Oh, here's another question that we get, and it's actually in the comments right now. Where do you live in Georgia? I also live in Georgia, and I'd like you to possibly mod one of my guitars or do some setup work. I do not work on other people's guitars. We do not do that. I used to do that quite a bit. Now, once in a while, well, we actually quite kind of often, I will buy a brand new guitar from Sweetwater or wherever I get it, and I will mod that guitar, and then I will sell that to one of you. We're in the process of doing that with the Yamaha Revstar back there. One of the viewers, Tim Potter, he's actually in the comments right now. He reached out to me and said, "Hey, would you want to do a video on the Revstar thing? Because you've talked about it. Do you want to buy one? This is the color I want and stuff." So he wanted that color, and he said, "Just do whatever you're going to do, and then I'll buy it from you when you're done." So we'll do that, but I will not work on other people's guitars. The reason is because I have 100% control over. This is nobody's guitar yet. Like your dad didn't give it to you or anything. You know what I mean? Like if I buy a guitar from Sweetwater and it accidentally gets run over by a truck, I just go buy another one. You know, you have never even seen it yet or been connected to it yet. So it's easier for me to be in control of that stuff. And if the quality of it's bad, I can send it back and get another one, like that kind of stuff, which we don't have to do really. But that's the kind of reason I do it, because it just makes it way easier on everybody if I don't work on stuff. Plus, I don't have room. I do not have room for guitars. We got rid of, I think I've got to ship 3 more this week, and then we'll be down to like 12, and that's kind of my max. We were up to like 20, and that was really my max. All right, those 2 things are crossed off the list here. Let's see. Are you still doing wide range rewinds? I got this one out of our email because we get these every day. We are not doing wide range rewinds anymore. And I probably won't do them again. This is another thing, same kind of deal. You sent in stuff for me to work on, and man, was it a pain. It was an absolute pain, because you tell people, don't send anything in the box, just the pickups. And then they send their pickup rings and their screws and their springs and all this stuff. And some of it was pretty nasty. And you're like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, because then it's, hey, the springs weren't in the box when you sent them back. And, you know, I get it. I do understand your concern, but there was a rule. And that's why, because we can't be responsible for that stuff. I don't like being responsible for other people's stuff. It's not that I'm irresponsible, but it's that when I have a new product and a new thing, then I can be in control of keeping it new, keeping it nice. You know what I mean? We can even have one of these guitars like for a year, and there still will be no scratches in it, no nicks in it. I take care of my stuff, all of my stuff. You buy a guitar from me, it's not going to be beat up or, you know. So, but I can't control that from somebody else. So it makes it kind of tough. Yeah. Question. Are you going to launch a wide range humbucker of your own? That's a possibility. That is a possibility. Here's another question. Now, this is kind of a techie kind of question, and I'll come back over here to your comments here in a minute too. Should I replace the pots at the same time that I replace the pickups in my guitar? I think it's fun to replace everything because it's fun, and that's what I do. And what we talk about here a lot is doing stuff because it's fun, because this is our hobby. Do you need to do any of it? Nope. The truth of the matter is, nobody needs any of this stuff. And nobody needs new pickups. And nobody needs some guitars are terrible. Even then, it's not a need situation. This is a hobby. It's really fun, right? So I like to do this stuff for fun. So I'm going to put pickups in a guitar whether it needs it or not, because I like to do it and because I'm a pickup guy, and this is how we sell pickups, right? Is we share them with you in videos and, you know, that kind of stuff. Which actually reminds me of another question that comes up. So I'm going to write that down to consider in a few moments. So yeah, I think it's fun to do it. Do you need to replace the pots at the same time? Sometimes it's reasonable to do that because taking a guitar apart is hard. Like a 335, I would just do it all at once because it's a pain in the butt to work on them things. Um, Sometimes it's worth it to do it like in a telly for the opposite reason, because it's super easy and you just can just knock it all out at once. Same thing with a Strat. Putting a new loaded pickguard in there is really easy because it just drops in and you only have to have 2 solder joints. That's why we sell loaded pickguards. They take a little bit longer to get because we're having pickguards custom made for every one of you. I do them literally. We have them custom cut for each one of you. So, when you pick a color and all that kind of stuff. So they take a little longer than just pickups by themselves to order and make and all that kind of stuff. But it's worth it because it's a drop-in thing. It's 2 soldering joints. It's done. And every once in a while we will have, a bad pot or something. But most of the time, they go out great. Let's see. No belt buckle wear. Yeah, I don't. I'm really careful about that stuff. Dude, Dylan only buys new guitars. Yeah, for the most part. Do you think that people put more emphasis on guitars and gear instead of practicing to get better at the gear that they have? Your thoughts? I would not. So, okay. If you don't want to play your guitar because you don't like it or it doesn't inspire you, then what point is it? Because playing should be fun. So this is called playing guitar. So all of this stuff should be fun. There should never be angry people in the comments. There should never be arguments in the comments. There should never be any of those things because we're playing guitar. So for somebody to say you need to practice more and worry less about your gear, I think that is almost an intentionally inflammatory statement to troll. Because why do we care what somebody else does for fun? I don't care what you do for fun. And I don't care how much you play guitar. To tell you the truth, I don't care if you play guitar. If you enjoy them, if you buy them and you hang them on the wall and you never play them, but you're fascinated by them, you think they're cool. You want to be part of the hobby and you collect the stuff. If you're a collector and not a player, doesn't bother me at all. I think if you're interested in a thing, be interested in the thing and enjoy it. Like, do whatever you need to do to enjoy that hobby. So if it means collect and not play, if it means I don't get to play very much, but I have a PRS private stock that's 15 grand and I'm not very good, you deserve to have it. If you can afford it and you loved it and you bought it and you wanted it, then get it. That's the way I feel. Everybody should be able to be allowed and to be allowed to feel that they enjoy whatever. Like, and I've probably talked crap about some gear that's probably, stepped on somebody's toes or their feelings about their own gear or whatever in the past. I know I have. Because there's certain brands and stuff that I have a real hard time with. But then again, it's not my place. It's not my place that'll be like, you shouldn't have that. It's not my place to be like, if you enjoy it, just enjoy it. Whatever, man, do it. Yeah, I'm never about that. And here's the thing. If you're not having fun playing guitar because you hate your gear, you're never going to get good at it. You're not going to practice. So they're conversely, or I don't even know how you want to say that. Those are connected. Those two things are connected, but they're not mutually exclusive, right? They're connected. So if you don't like your instrument, you're not going to practice. So why tell somebody you should practice before you like your instrument? That doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I feel about it. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a real thing to think about. I just really enjoy it. I just really enjoy all this stuff. Do you have any more swag left for your orders? Oh yeah, we got some stuff still. Yeah, we got a couple things. There's a couple of those items that I mentioned yesterday that are running out or ran out, but I think some of it is still. And what we're doing is I've kind of decided to start putting surprise gear, surprise stuff in little short runs like that. I think it's kind of fun. Let's see. Oh, so everybody's talking about pot values. That's an experimental thing. People really, they really. So for those of you that are listening to this podcast later, in the comment section right now in the chat, people are talking about 250 versus 500K pots, and I'm I'm not really a person who gets really hung up on that. I I like 500s in most everything, and there's very few guitars that I don't like them in. I like 250s and tellies because they're pretty spanky, if not. But so that can be kind of a thing. But yeah, cool. Let's see. Why didn't you review or compare or talk about this piece of gear? I'll give you an example. Line 6 Catalyst 100 versus Boss Katana. And they're like, yeah, but you compared the Line 6 Catalyst 100 versus the Katana 50, so that's not fair. I mean, the amps do the same thing when you plug them into the computer, so they're the same. And 99% of the time, I actually do reviews on stuff that I want, and stuff, and B, that I have, because we don't have very much stuff. So what we have is what we have. So that's kind of why you see it. And it's stuff that I want to do reviews on. A lot of gear I'm just not interested in. And if I'm not interested in it, the video is really hard for me to make, and then it's not as good. I was really disappointed in the PRS horse meat video yesterday because nobody watched it in comparison to how much people usually watch my stuff. I was really bummed out about that because that video was so fun to make, and it was such a good pedal. People need, first of all, you need to go watch that video. Second of all, you need to get one of them things. It's so good. It's a good pedal. It does a lot of stuff, and I really like it. And a made in the United States pedal for $249, semi like a boutique-ish sort. It's right in there money wise. It's not too expensive. It's, I'm writing down another thing that comes up a lot, so I'm going to. Well, let's just talk about this right in that. One of the questions that came up a bunch before the video came out was, why are you going to compare cheaper stuff to see if it's as good? And the answer is no. I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to compare this $100 thing against this $600 thing, because it's not this. It's not. They're never the same. The $100 thing is pretty much never as good as the $600 thing. And there's a reason for that. Those items are marketed for different people. The person that wants the $600 thing doesn't want the $100 thing. Now, the person that, and conversely, the person that wants the $600 thing but has the $100 thing doesn't really want the $600 thing. They think they do, but they don't, because they're just not there. If you wanted it, you would buy it. And we say, well, I can't afford it. It's too expensive. Well, then you don't want it, because it's a priority thing. Do you want to eat or do you want to pedal? That's a very extreme version of that. But I'm just saying, if you wanted a thing bad enough, you would get the thing. So that means you don't want it. And that's okay. That's totally fine. That's totally fine, because we all want different stuff. So the price thing, each product in the market is marketed for a different person. A $200 guitar, a $500 guitar, a $700 guitar, $1,000 guitar, $1,500, $2,500, and on up. They're all marketed to different customers. Now, those customers may cross over a little bit. The next level up may be aspirational for some. The lower below level may be a gift for some. And so things may cross over, but in the strictest sense of the word, all those different price points are not so people can say this cheap thing is as good as this thing and fight about it on the internet. It's actually so that there is something in the market for each person. And, that's really it. It was $299. It's $249. I accidentally said $299 and titled it $249. I titled it wrong, and I had to go back and fix it. So the IKEA meatball. Let's see. Did you see the latest John Cruz video with the green relic Strat? It sounds awesome. I did. It does sound awesome. Sounds very good. Those guitars are so good, man. Speaking of really expensive stuff that I would buy if I could, those John Cruz Strats and Tellys, the Tellys especially, are very, very good. Let's see. Yeah, that was it's a fun video. It's got discrete topology, which makes it a great pedal for multiple use cases. Yes, that's exactly the thing. It does a mid-cut thing. It does a mid-boost thing. The EQ is really super active. It has way more gain than a Klon. It does a lot of different stuff. It took me a while to figure it out. I've had it probably 3 weeks. And it took me a while to figure however long. I unboxed it live. So whenever that was. When I got like a week after I got back in Colorado last time. And it's good. It's just took me a while to figure it out. The other pedals are actually taking me a little longer to figure out. The double flanger thing is really neat. It's more subtle, which is really cool because a lot of times flangers are hard to like tame down, if that makes sense. You don't need like all the time, right? You want something a little more subtle. So this thing gives you a lot of adjustability for that, which is really cool, but it's taken me a time to figure it out. But I do like it. It's really neat. Oh, you ordered a Keeley Caverns. Well, that's pretty cool. Yeah, that stuff's fun. Let's see. And why didn't you talk about? So one of the things that we get a lot of people asking about is we will talk about a particular guitar, and I'll compare it to stuff. I'll say, this guitar is kind of like this guitar. And somebody in the comments will be like, well, how come you didn't talk about this other guitar? It's kind of like that one too. Well, what do you think about this other guitar? I don't know. I'm not personally familiar with every guitar. Like I know what the sales literature says, but the sales literature and what the guitar really does is two different things. And sometimes, and you only know that if you figure it out. Right. So, and I'm just not interested in everything. Like I am interested in trying stuff, but there's certain areas of the market that I don't really care about. I'm not gonna I'm not going to go on Amazon. It's fun sometimes. Okay, let me say this. It's fun sometimes to get ridiculous and go on Amazon and buy like the dumbest, cheapest stuff and see if it's any good. Like that's fun. And actually those videos do really well. But what I don't want to do is I don't want to create an environment where the people are like being cheap on purpose. Like, cause I don't gravitate towards that kind of person. I'm not that kind of person. So I don't want to create an environment for that I don't believe that it's constructive. I don't believe that being cheap on purpose. Now, buy what you can afford, obviously. But if we were to go on Amazon and say this $10 thing is just as good as this $80 thing, and it's not, because it's not ever. That would be dishonest, and B, would screw up credibility. That goes with the honesty thing, and also it would encourage people to. I think it takes the aspirational quality of playing guitar out of it when you're just trying to be cheap just to be cheap, and so I don't want to encourage that. I want people to dream. I want you to dream of the 57 Les Paul Gold Top that you don't have. Like, are you ever going to have it? I don't know. I don't know if I'm ever going to have one, but I want to dream about it, and I want to be excited about it. And why focus on a gear segment that doesn't make you excited? And it doesn't make me excited, so it's hard to focus on it, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the thing. I would love you to compare the Silver Sky with the Schecter Nick Johnston. See, there's an example. I've played the Schecter Nick Johnston. It's just a guitar to me. You might as well just buy a Strat. It's the same thing. It's fine. It's totally fine. The Silver Sky is better in every way. The Silver Sky is an unbelievable guitar. Is the $800 one the same, as good as a Schecter Nick Johnston? On the feature specs, you might argue back and forth on that, but I fully believe that comes down to how the guitar feels, because the necks are different. So, if you like the one neck, get that guitar. If you like the other neck, get that guitar. That's really, to me, what it comes down to with those two. Because honestly, yeah, I don't know. At $850, just pick whichever one you like. I think it's getting to the point now. Anything under $1,000 in the real quality import stuff. So when we talk about, an $850 import guitar, because that's what you're buying these days, you're going to get a good one. They're going to be fine. I think the only thing you got to worry about right now is Fender Mexico quality. Just go over it really good when you get it. But any of the stuff coming from Indonesia, the Cortex stuff, even the Japanese stuff, any of that stuff's going to be great. So don't worry about it too much. I just sold an Indonesian guitar today. It was $1,000 Indonesian guitar, but I sold it for $800, but it was really good. Everything was good about it. I think the Fender Mexico stuff's a little suspect right now. I would definitely just don't not buy it, but just look at it really good and just be picky about it. Because that's the only way that we're going to fix quality stuff, is if you're picky about it, return it if it's not good, that kind of thing. Why do you think the Boss Next Tone hasn't taken off more? I love mine and works great with pedals too. I don't know, because that amp is really good. I think that some other stuff is better in the same price range now. I think that market's getting, well, we talked about this last week in our 5 hot takes situation. I really believe that market segment is the new everybody segment. The guitar amp for the everyday player. So the Hot Rod DeVille of 2022 is going to be the Next Tone Studio or Special, the Catalyst 100 or 200, the Tone Master, anything. Those amps. Those amps are the Hot Rod DeVille and Blues Junior of 2022. And then on the top end of that, getting back into tubes, then the St. James, at $1,200 or whatever that thing costs. I think, but that for that, $600 to $900 range, that's going to be the new sweet spot for what all guitar amps, I believe, what all kind of daily driver for most normal people guitar amps is going to be. Right in that spot. They're going to be digital of some sort. unless it's a Next Tone or a Katana where it's, a class A, B weird thing with digital stuff in it. But anyway, that's going to be the new hotspot. So I think there's not going to be a better or worse. And I think there's going to be more and more stuff in that segment. So the reason there's not a lot of Next Tone stuff, in my opinion, is because it's not the best one anymore. But that does not to say that Boss isn't working on the update to it. There's going to be a lot of progress in that area. You know what I mean? I think the Next Tone is better than the Katana. Oh, I believe so too. Totally. 100%. But they're also not the same price. So this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. Well, the Next Tone's better than the Katana. It is, but it costs more. So they've created like 6 different price points based on the mini one to the 50 to the 150 or whatever that is in the Katana, and then the Studio and the Pro and the whatever artist, whatever the Next Tone ones are called. They've created 6 different price points for their amp range for different levels of guitar player, for different price points, but they all sound great, but they all also progressively sound better as you spend more money. So it's not that one's better or worse. It's that in these particular price points, they hit perfectly. And that's exactly what it should be. That's how it should work. That's how it should work. So I think the Fender Mustangs sound fizzy, but see, those are cheap amps. Those are not expensive amps. That's what I'm getting at here with all of this conversation, is each of these particular amplifiers is a different price point. And the code 50, that's competing with a completely different person. So no, it's interesting. It's really interesting. I wish Vox would step into this digital arena. They tried with that Amplitube thing or that the new tube thing to come up with a non-tube amp, and it was really good and nobody liked it. But I also think it was wrong. It wasn't marketed totally perfectly. But I think everybody's going to. Vox, Marshall. I would almost put money on the fact that all the big amp companies right now are putting some sort of development into this $700 to $900 range with a digital component, plug it into your computer to record, combo amp that you can gig with, does all the things for under $1,000. I bet everybody is on that train right now, but it's just taking them some time. And, Fender's got they're a huge company and they got a big development budget. So, it makes sense. And the way Fender did it is genius, with each individual amp sounding different and one amp at a time. I think that was way better than putting 50 sounds into an amp. Why? Because it's easier to market an amp that is familiar to a person who used to have a Princeton, who used to have a whatever, because you can go up there and just twist knobs. It's way harder to convert a guitar player to digital from tube or from wherever they're coming from, conventional amplifier, we'll call it. It's way harder to convert that person with a menu or a touch screen or stuff you have to click through. Fender is genius in this. And I know a lot of people disagree with me because they think that it should have 5 amps in one and blah, blah, blah. I disagree. I think that doing each individual amp differently, individually, was the right move. And it's really, really cool. I really think so. Hey, Ivan, how's it going? So yeah, I think this is a great conversation to have though, because these are literally the conversations that happen in the comments all the time. But to put some like reasonableness on them and like take the anger out of it and just to talk about us enjoying our stuff is really fun. And that's why I like to do this stuff on Tuesday. That's why we call it Just Gonna Say It. Dude, I love my Tone Master amp. I only use my Boss or my Blackstar St. James now for anytime I'm trying to drive a clean amp with a pedal. So in yesterday's video, some of the stuff we did was we set up the Blackstar St. James with a clean amp, no drive on it at all, because you can do that. Tons of headroom because it's 50 watts, 6L6s. And then put a pedal in it and just use the pedal. It's great. The Tone Master, just like a tube one, starts to break up super quick depending on the pickups you're using, depending on whatever. So if you want to have an amp on the edge of breakup with a pedal, which is the way I like to do it, the Tone Master is better. So it just kind of depends. So it's really fun to do that stuff. So let's see. One of the things, and this is a little less fun to talk about, but I wanted to share it because I really, my motivations and my intentions and everything are really, really positive. But I messaged you on X or Y platform and you never replied to me. Thus, you are a douchebag. You don't care about your blah, blah, blah. I just got one of these the other day. It's like, I was going to give you an opportunity to work on a really cool guitar and you didn't message me back and blah, blah. Okay. Let me explain how this works. This is definitely not intentional. I am very clear. And so I want to mention it again. I am very, very clear. If you want to get in touch with me, you use the contact form on the website at Dylan Talks Tone. There's a little contact us thing. Now, if you send me an email and it is, I have a scratchy pot. I need help with my guitar. Can I call you? I have to troubleshoot something. The answer is always going to be no. That's a really terrible thing to say, but you have to understand, I get at least a dozen of those every day. And that is, we have two ways that we can do that. One is you can come and hang out on a live stream and try to get your question in or super chat it in. On Thursday nights, we really concentrate on that. To do that. That's why I set aside the time to do these things, because I like this hanging out with you. If I were to answer all those emails all the time, or God forbid, pick up the phone, I cannot talk on the phone, because as much as I love interacting with you, what happens is people will call and they won't be like, if I pick up the phone, they won't be like, hey, I have a scratchy pot. Can you recommend me a new part that I want to buy from you? It's, I got this guitar when I was 3 and I have this entire life story. And 20 minutes later, I have a question. And then they ask the question and they're like, okay, thanks, bye. And I am not ungrateful for that time because it's fun to learn those stories. However, we have to make like 20 pickups a day right now. So we're really busy, and I'm more concerned, honestly, and to be fair to all of you who have pickups on order that are sitting over here unfinished, I have to really give you priority because you bought a pickup and I want to make sure that you get it on time, So that's why we build into our content, answers to a lot of those questions. That's why I put them in videos. So watch the videos and you'll get the answers to those questions. And B, this interaction that we do with these things, if you were to ask me a question right now or super chat me a question right now, I would answer it for you. You know what I mean? Because that's why we're here. That's what we're doing. Same thing on Thursday, and especially on Thursday because we really have a program for that. Like, I don't have an agenda on Thursday. Usually it's just question. It's really fun. And then we also have Patreon. And Patreon is cool because, and YouTube members, it's the same thing, just different platforms. Because, and I know that people really are sensitive about this because they're like, I'm not going to pay to whatever. The thing I'm just going to say this really positively. The thing I appreciate about the folks that participate on Patreon is because they understand how busy we are. Because we have a once a month hangout thing that we do on Patreon, they know. They've been part of the community a long time, most of them. And I really appreciate that they valued the time. They value our time. And so thank you for that. And so for those of you that are not used to doing things like that, where, you know, you can just email a question and get an answer. We don't have a big staff here, so it's really hard for me to do that. So for those of you that can value my time in that way, I really appreciate it a lot. Because I want to answer all these questions, but we don't always get them. And so I messaged you on X platform and you never replied to me. If we get a dozen emails a day, we get 24 Facebook messages and Instagram messages that go into various junk boxes and various stuff that I actually never see. And then like once a month I go in there and there's tons of them in there. I don't see them because if you're not friends with me, it goes into this other box and blah, 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 blah. Like anyway. So that's why I took all of that away and just said, just go to that one place or come to Patreon. And I promise you, I will take the time. Because that's what it's for. I really set that time aside. And for those of you that do that and hang out, let everybody else know in the comments how fun that is. Because it's really fun. The once a month hangout things are super fun. It's really fun. I really enjoy doing it. I've made really good friends. Actually met a bunch of you in person. It's really cool. So I appreciate everybody. So that was a sensitive-y sort of thing to talk about, but we get it every day. And so I just want to make sure that I cover it because I love y'all, man. Because if none of you watch this stuff, I wouldn't be able to do any of this. You know, this is what I do. This is not a side gig for me. So I really appreciate it a lot. We got a super chat from Paul McNary. A tip for going to the post office earlier today. Thanks. You bet, man. I went to the post office just for you. Actually, not just for you, for a few of you. Oops. Let's see. Yeah. Which platform pays you the best? Patreon, probably. I think. Yeah, because just so y'all know, and I'm really transparent about this, the way YouTube works, I want to say the revenue split is like 60-40 on YouTube. And the revenue split on Patreon is they take 10%. And it's the same price. So it does better actually on Patreon. And I am fully open to being super transparent about that because I just think it's only fair. I think it's only fair. That you do that. Cause you know, a lot of people, and this leads me into the other little sensitive-y thing I wanted to talk about today too, is the whole affiliate link thing. Cause there's a few people that have been getting in the comments today and giving me crap, or not today, but on videos giving me crap about affiliate links and, oh, this is just another affiliate commercial. And I do that because it's part of my making a living, and these videos are expensive to make, and they take time, you know? So we just have to get up early and stay up late to get it all done, but it is all time. And so those affiliate links do help out. It's not a lot of money. It's not, we're not talking Mr. Beast here. This is not, you know, we're not buying Lamborghinis with this. Or, you know, I don't have a gold plated toilet or any of the other, you know, I don't have the fancy, cool YouTuber house with the weird looking furniture and all that. We just have a regular little apartment. You know what I mean? So, I try to be as genuine and open about that as possible. But I just wanted to mention that too. A lot of this stuff was almost, it's funny because these questions that came up a lot in the comments it's almost like they were, like more social than technical, if that makes sense. Like the majority of comments on YouTube they're social in nature, which is really interesting, right? Because It's a community. And because this is a hobby and we're having fun, we're doing stuff. And if we really view it that way, then it's interesting how most of the stuff is social in nature. We're all hanging out talking about guitar stuff. And I want to continue to be positive about that. Some stuff gets under my skin a little bit every once in a while, and I'm not afraid to say it. On my Facebook the other day, and this would be an entire other podcast, and we don't have time for it right now, but I posted a Jerry Garcia thing where he said he thought rap wasn't real music, and that turned into a war. But, you know, as I'm making a pickup for Run DMC, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's just fun to talk about music, and it should stay fun. And if you don't want to make a positive contribution to that kind of community, then go somewhere else. It's easy. It's easy. You can scroll past. Let's see. Let's get this guy a gold Lambo. Dude, trust me. I would not refuse it. But, you know. Why hasn't any company out there come out with a new guitar body shape? It seems like no matter who it is, it's a Strat body, Telly, Les Paul. Can nobody come up with a new iconic shape? I'll tell you exactly why. Because you don't buy it. This is all everything. So this is an interesting thing that came up in the comments the other day. Somebody was talking about all this stuff is just marketing. Yes. Yes, it is. A business is in the business of selling stuff so that they can make a profit. This is not a, it's not a charity. A profit so that whereby all of the employees can feed their families and make a living, and the folks that started the company can make some dough. That is why a company exists. At least in the Western world. Now, I don't want to get into politics and we don't want to go too deep down that rabbit hole, but the bottom line is Fender, the guys at the top make a lot of money, and they stay up really late and they get up really early and they do a lot of stuff and they work hard and they run the company. That's what they do. And the person at the top always makes the most money. That's how it works. And their job is to build products that people will buy. If you want to make a living making a product, then you make a product that people will buy. So it's as simple as that. And that's for everybody, no matter what. If you're an insurance salesman, if you're a real estate person, if you're a car salesman, if you're, I don't know, if you work in customer service at T-Mobile, doesn't matter. Or a cable company, all of those companies make a product that people want to buy. They talk about it on the internet, which is marketing. People buy it. Everybody eats. So everything is marketing. And as it relates to guitar shapes, if everybody said, what if they built this? I would buy it. If everybody actually did it that said that, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Somebody would have come out with a really cool new shape and thousands of people would have bought it, and it would have been the next Strat or Les Paul or SG or 335. But the bottom line is nobody buys a Parker Fly. That's why they went out of business. Nobody buys anything that's not normal because they don't buy it. They default back to. So if you bought it, it would work. If you bought it, it would work. Perhaps Fender, Gibson, etc. have already figured out the shapes that are subconsciously pleasing to the human brain. I think you're overthinking it. I think that they have figured out that that's all you want to buy. That's all there is to it. You know? So, and, you know, I've heard this on a podcast the other day. It's just like music, you know, talk about this hip hop versus rock thing. If you want to make it in the music business, write a song that people will like. Not that you will like, that people will like, that lots of people will like. Come out with a product, write a song, because a song is a product that people will like. You sell tons of them, tons of people see it on TikTok, you will make a living. If the song sucks, you will not make a living. It's as simple as that. Yeah. So, I mean, this is all pretty simple stuff, and people will overthink the ergonomics and the shape and, well, this little thing sticks out too far and whatever. But it really comes down to, we are very habitual creatures as human beings. And we go back to Strats and Les Pauls and SGs and 335s, Tellys, mostly Tellys. You guys, this has been fun. I try to take these for an hour on Tuesdays. This has been a lot of blast of a fun time. I'm working on some guests, just FYI. So we're not going to do guests live. We'll pre-record those, and those will be in addition to extra. Those will be extra episodes on top of these. So I'm working on some guests. So that'll be kind of fun. You guys are awesome. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you tomorrow for the gear news. Oh yeah, before we go, make sure that you like and subscribe and do all the things, and share this, please. And make sure you go to the link in the description and fill out the survey so that we can do a best of awards show at the end of the month.